right, hello everyone out there. This is Nancy Rebecca with Intuitive Mind, and I hope this day finds you well and healthy and with some little sparks of hope and inspiration that our world is moving in a really great direction. Uh, so today, in the kind of series of the dynamics of the human energy field, today I'm talking about dynamic children. Those little children with the little auras and the little energy fields, but while they are dynamic, they are powerful, they still have the same size spirit that we have. They're just trying to learn how to work with their own spirit in those little bodies of theirs. And so I'm going to talk about that today. I've worked with kids for about 25 years. It definitely has not been the predominant part of my practice, but there was about 7 years where I ran a kids summer camp. So spent a couple of weeks out of the summer with kids, teaching them about meditation and intuitive development. And what I learned from that is all kids are intuitive, all kids are psychic. They just work with their abilities differently, just like you do as an adult. Some of you are seers, some of you are feelers, some of you can hear things, some of you know things. So again, kids are the same way. And so what I did was I just kind of worked with their natural ability that we all have with our energy field. And I just taught them to kind of validate that as intuitive experiences. They were able to do things way beyond what we can as adults because, let's face it, after we kind of grow up, we kind of get socially programmed and we have certain belief systems that we adopt from our parents or from society that kind of limits our ability to be expansive and imaginative and think anything's possible. I mean, kids still think that anything is possible. And so that's really to their advantage. Around the age of 9 years old, some kids, it can be around 11, so between 9 and 11, their aura starts to get like a little thicker. I'm not quite sure exactly what happens, but this all of a sudden they kind of hormones start going and they start trying to behave in ways that their social counterparts, other boys do, other girls do, at church, at school. So they start to have more of those human experiences. But up until that age, they can still see spirits and they can still see energy fields and they can hear things and they know what's going on for you as a parent. But before I kind of jump into all of that, where I really wanted to start in this video, I'm going to talk about what is a star seed? We hear these kind of starseed children. We hear about the indigos and the crystals and the rainbows and the earthlings, and then we've got these new babies that are coming in. And I've just had a new little niece that was born a little over a month ago, and I have another friend who has her little granddaughter that was born just the day before. So I've kind of been following them along on Facebook, looking at the videos and the pictures, and they're also quite dynamically different. So I'll talk a little bit about the difference and what does that mean? And you can definitely look up more online, but I'll talk about that at the end of this video. I'm going to lead you through a little 5 to 10 minute experience of your own to kind of experience some of those energies that these children are bringing in, to kind of get a sense and a feel about the energies and why they're here. So first of all, children, they're no accident. I mean, they come to the earth, they come with a purpose, they come with a reason. When you were born, you came in with a purpose, you came in with a mission, there was a reason why you were here. All babies, when they're born to heal the family that they're born into in some way. So their vibration is so high, they're still so freshly connected to spirit that when they are born into the family, it raises the whole vibration of the family up. I mean, if you've ever been around a baby and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I feel tired, or wow, I can't get my energy, or I can barely stay awake. You know how we talk about being around kids? It's like, whoo, I just feel worn out. Well, their vibration and frequency is quite high, so it can kind of stir up your stuff. But that's why they're here. They're here to help heal the families. And so that's why I know no matter what family they're born into, their job is to help heal that family. But let's talk about starseed children. So I don't know who coined the phrase starseed, but I think I've heard that phrase definitely for the 25 years that I've been doing this work. So a star seed, it's like a seed that's come from the star. So basically, whoever kind of coined that phrase says that these special children, all children are special, but they say these special children that were born that came from the stars to help humanity. Well, that's a pretty big job for a little itty bitty baby, but let's go with it. So let's talk about Indigo Children. So those were the main ones that were written about. There's several books that have been published about them. But it's my sense about Indigo Children. They started coming in around the year 1920. So one of the things when certain children are born during a certain time, you have to look at the history of what was going on in the earth to know what they're here to help with. So Indigo Children, there were a few. Once in a while, there was an Indigo Child that was born that became an Indigo adult. Why are they called Indigo? Because their auras are this bluish, purplish color, kind of like the sixth chakra. The sixth chakra is your intuitive, clear-seeing, psychic chakra. And so they came in very aware, very conscious, could see truth. So my sense is that a few started coming in the 1920s. They were kind of like the scouts. They kind of check it out in the world to see, you know, when should they start sending in more Indigo children. So Indigo started coming in the 20s, again in the 40s, and then they came in the 60s and 70s. But then there was a big bulk of them that started being born around the 1980s. So there was a big bulk that started coming in. So what is it now? It's 2020. So what are they? They're either 30 or 40 years old. Indigo children have always kind of had issues with authority, always kind of challenging authority. And that's where there was this kind of sense of that they're different, something's wrong with them, they can't seem to track, they can't seem to settle. So that's where all this kind of attention deficit disorder came in, and this kind of medicating them to help kind of calm them down. They all seem to do much better as adults when they have their own authority. But when they're not under their own authority, they don't do so well. They're kind of railing against the machine is how I describe them. And I'm not saying I'm against medication, because I have two children that were born in the 80s, and yeah, it's like, give me the pill, because I mean, how do you think the Indigos practiced their kind of pushing up against authority? They were constantly pushing against the parents, so they could really practice. So I say, you know, probably in this kind of protest that's going on in the world, probably a majority of them are Indigos. That, you know, they say they've always known that authority was off, the authority figures were off, the leadership was off, the politics was off, or economics was off, or the school system's off, you know, so they were always kind of battling or protesting or trying to get us to kind of wake up and see what's really happening. And so right now they're out on the streets kind of protesting, and it's like, yeah, they've been practicing. So what happened in the 20s? We had World War I. What happened in the 40s? We had World War II. What happened in the 60s? We had the Vietnam War. So it's like there's been these wars, and the Indigos have been coming in to kind of battle the status quo, to say things have to change. So they came in with really strong personalities, and we didn't know what to do with them. We didn't know what to do with all these strong personalities. So that's the indigos. Indigos are still coming in. I don't know if they're coming in as much as they were in the 80s, but we definitely they're adults now, and definitely they are fulfilling their purpose, fulfilling their mission. Let's talk about crystal children. So there's another one, and I'm not going to get totally into the details of each different type of starseed child. You can definitely Google it or put it in the search engine. Crystal children have more of a crystallized aura. So the way I describe what their aura looks, and honestly, I've only met one or two, but I'm not around a lot of kids in the past couple of years, but I've met one or two. It's just purity. There's just this pureness about them. Now imagine a quartz crystal in a computer. A little tiny square of quartz crystal can hold a tremendous amount of data. So crystal children are able to bring and download a lot of high consciousness data down to the earth. They usually have such a clear energy field. They don't have a lot of karma, or they don't have past lives that they're working off of. They're just here to fulfill their mission of being able to kind of download high-level conscious information to the planet. And so they can be very, very focused. They have very big eyes. They can almost seem kind of angelic in a way, but don't make any mistake about it. They can still be very strong-willed and strong-minded because they can hold a focus, and they can't really figure out why we're all having problems, because to them the world is equal. There's equality. We should be kind and good to each other, and what the heck is going on? So they really don't kind of get where our mindset might be. Now, they start coming in the year 2000. Now, it's based on my experience. I haven't met a lot of crystal children, so I don't know how many kind of came in at that time. But the next one I'm going to talk about is the rainbow children. So the rainbow children, they have very colorful auras. They can be quite connected to their emotions, their creativity. They are highly telepathic, so many times they may not have begun talking until between the ages of 3 and 5. They can be mislabeled as kind of having a disability because they're not talking much, but they're highly telepathic. So I have one of my grandsons I know is one of the rainbow children, because he's just very loving and very sweet and very kind. Very great telepathic communicator. So when he was a child, he could be playing with toys, and I could be sitting on the couch and send him a telepathic message asking him to pick up that truck and bring it to grandma, and he would stop what he was doing and he'd pick it up at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He could really follow and pick up on telepathic signals. So they're great telepathic communicators. They don't see the need to kind of spend a lot of time with words, and they also have quite big eyes. Very loving. Again, don't quite understand why we're not loving each other. Can't understand why someone might get upset with them. If you love them, why would you get upset with them? So they can be very sweet that way, but their job is to build the bridge between where we are now and where we're going. So like in the Mayan calendar, this time is known as the time of no time, meaning they didn't have the prophecy for this time that we're living in right now, because things are changing so rapidly that who you were 5 minutes ago might not be who you are now. I'm telling all my friends and my students and even myself, give yourself permission to be different now than you were 5 minutes ago, because that's just how rapidly things are changing. So it's their job to kind of help where we are, which it feels like we're in a really rough place, and we are, but But in the Mayan calendar, they kind of predicted that we were going from the dark ages back into the golden ages. So there's this 26,000 year calendar, and this calendar is coming around. So in 2025, we're supposed to start heading into the golden ages. And so the rainbow children, that's kind of what they do. They help us go from one place to another. They too started coming in around the year 2000. And but I started seeing more of the bulk of them come in around 2008. I've seen many, many more rainbow children than I've seen crystal. I've seen a lot of indigos. There's a lot of indigos, and we really need a lot of indigos on the earth right now to help us make the changes that we need to make in the world right now. I want to talk about earthlings. So an earthling is not a star being, but an earthling. And so they're very much connected to the here and now, and they're very reality based. So for all of you spiritual people out there, and I'm very spiritual and I'm very optimistic, and I want to promote hope and inspiration. An earthling would say, well, yeah, in 2025 is the golden ages, and that's all right and that's all good, but like, you got to deal with what's going on right here and now. So they're very reality based, they're very grounded, and they're like, stay right here, stay in the moment, don't worry about the future, don't future trip. So that very much would be an earthling. So I do talk about, we kind of talk about, like in Harry Potter, where you had the muggles and you had the wizards, and it's the same in the world. We're going to have kids that seem kind of disinterested in intuition and psychic ability, and then you're going to have other kids that it's just second nature for them. But they're all amazing people, and they all have an amazing place on this earth. So let's see. So I was talking about lots of kids. Oh, the best part. Talk about these kids, like, who as spirit would choose to be born in the middle of a global pandemic. So I was talking about my niece and talking about my friend's granddaughter. So they're only about a month old, and I've been watching them on Facebook. First of all, very alert. Again, very large eyes. They have this deep peace about them, this deep wisdom, kind of very advanced, very talkative, like to engage, will look you in the eye and just really engage with you. Remember, their spirits are just as large as your spirit. They just happen to be in a little body and learning how to work with this new body. But what I'm noticing is there's this deep sense of wisdom. And for me, when I'm looking at them, I can feel the presence of a lot of kind of owl type energy. That kind of the wise owl. And so when I asked Spirit about this, Spirit said, yeah, they're coming in to help us remember our own wisdom. Remember to tap into our own wisdom, to not lose our heads. Like, we can really lose our heads right now with all the crazy going on that's causing a lot of confusion and a lot of discord. And these young ones that are being born during this time, some were born before the year 2000, being born now, they're coming in to help anchor wisdom to the earth, to help us remember that part. So yeah, there's amazing things about all these new little ones and these kids that are being born now. What have I learned that I'd like to kind of pass on? I've learned a lot. I could write a whole book, but what I've learned about kids, they're all intuitive, they're all psychic. It can be learned out of them, and but a lot of kids are being born to very aware parents right now. So these little spirits, they know what parents they want to be born to. So just let you know, all kids are intuitive. They can see loved ones on the other side. They can see angelic realms. As a matter of fact, they get surprised when they find out that you can't see them. So if you have a young child that's like, yeah, there's a person standing in the corner of the room, and you're like, is there a person standing in the corner of the room? And they'll say, you can't see that person standing in the corner of the room. So that's when they become aware that they can see them, but you can't. So even if you don't discourage them right away, they're like, I want to be normal, so I'm just not going to talk about this anymore. But what I will say, we are in 2020, and a lot of that's changing. You know, we have a lot of kids that have really great parents that aren't trying to suppress their kind of natural intuitive abilities now. But the big thing about kids are really sensitive. So believe what they're saying. If they don't feel good where they are, that's because they can feel the energy. Kids probably know their parents better than their parents know themselves. That's kind of a frightening thought, isn't it? I thought if I didn't talk about something, if I didn't mention it, that my kids would be oblivious to it. But no, because they're so sensitive, they can pick up on all the nuances of what's going on for you. One of the things I notice about kids is I see a lot of kids because of behavior issues, or maybe they are frightened by seeing spirits and things like that. So their parents will ask me to work with their kids. And so I have lots of kids that I call my kids. But one of the things I notice with kids that have behavior issues is that the child is kind of channeling the energy in the house that's not being expressed by the parents. And so that energy is usually going to come through the most sensitive child in the household. And I know there's a lot of adults just like you out there that remember what it was like to be a sensitive child in the household that you were in. And I know that you remember what it felt like in the household. And I know that you were affected by how you felt. Kids are the same way. So one of the biggest things that I notice, like the emotion of anger, I call the emotion of anger as this red energy, and I consider it a beautiful energy when it's in the flow. When it's suppressed, when we're angry, like let's say the mother's upset with the husband, or the husband's upset with the mother, but they're not talking about it, and they're just kind of going through daily life not talking about it. But then the child starts kind of raging. That's because it's been suppressed in the parents. It's going to come up through the most sensitive child. Then that child acts out, maybe starts throwing stuff, then they get punished for what the parent isn't expressing. So it is a big job that I have when I'm educating the parents about, working with their own emotions as well, and trying to identify them so that the child doesn't have to process it through their own body. Let's see what else. I don't know. There's a lot. Kids are awesome. But I do want to make sure that we have time for a little meditation. So go ahead and kind of shake it off, because I can feel that a lot of you have a lot of questions. So just know that I'll try to get to all your questions, but if you put your questions in the comment box, I will try to get to those over time. So just let go of your questions, close your eyes, and turn within. Say hello to your body and remind your body of how old you are now. Because I'm talking about kids, and your old childhood memories might get triggered, and your energy field might go back to the age of 3 or 6 or 12. So just remind your energy field of how old you are now. Gotta shake off some of those old memories. Shake them off. There you go. It's getting a little better. Now go ahead and imagine you're grounding yourself to the center of the earth. Just imagine you're a tree with a deep root system. And you're going to extend your own root system all the way through the seat of the chair that you're sitting in, or maybe you're sitting on the floor or laying in the bed. You're going to extend your root system through the earth's crust, and you're going to go that 4,000 miles deep to the core of the earth and really anchor your root system there. Take a moment to start releasing some old childhood memories that may have gotten stirred up for you, or maybe you're a parent of your own children and some of those things got stirred up. So just let them go right down your grounding cord, your grounding root system. Oh, that's starting to feel better. Great job, everyone. Now go ahead and remind yourself of today's date and your current age. This is going to help pull any of your energy from the past or from the future to be right here in the present moment with you. Whew, that feels better. Now, set your intention and let your spirit know that you want to experience what these different child's energies are like that are coming into the earth. So just ask your spirit to help you to have an experience with each and every one of them. So now imagine that you are an indigo child and you're going to channel that indigo bluish purple energy through your energy field. If you were an indigo child or adult, what would you feel like? And for some of you, it might feel different, so it'll help you understand. For others, it'll feel very familiar. Notice what you notice. Sense what you sense. Stay right here, right now. go ahead and let go of the indigo experience. Let it go 100%. And now shift. We're going to turn to the crystal channel by just setting your intention to experience the energy field of a crystal starseed energy. Crystal energy. Let that infuse your energy field. Ask your spirit to help you have an experience with this crystal energy. Remembering that this crystal energy can bring a lot of high consciousness data to the earth. It might feel familiar to you. You might be a crystal child, or it might be a new experience that will help you to understand crystal people better. Present time, present age. I can sense some really old stuff getting stirred up. It's a good thing. It's just getting stirred up. So just remind yourself to stay in the present moment and then go ahead and let go of the crystal energy. 100% down your grounding. And then shift to the rainbow starseed energy. Ask your spirit to help you to have an experience, to help you to learn about rainbow starseed energy and what it's here. Remember, they're the bridge makers from where we are now to where we're going. I apologize for my dog. Just keep infusing that rainbow energy. Present time yourself. Remind yourself of today's date. Remind yourself of how old you are so that you stay here in the present moment with your experience. Whew. All right, go ahead and let that rainbow starseed energy go right down your grounding, 100%. Let go of all of it. And now let's just do one more, and let's experience this new energy that I've been noticing. I think we get to name it the wise ones or the wisdom keepers. We'll call them the wise ones that are helping us remember our wisdom. So again, allow yourself to shift into that deep wisdom that these new little babies are bringing to the earth. Ask your spirit to help you have an experience to better understand this wisdom energy. Remember the date. Stay right here in the moment. Ground yourself really strongly. Create some new roots. All right, go ahead and let go of that energy 100%. Let it go right down your grounding, kind of like popping open a drain. It's just going to wash right down. All right, whenever you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Move your body around a little bit, kind of wiggle your fingers and your toes. If you had an experience, leave it in the comment section below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please click the subscribe button, click on the bell so you get notified when I've uploaded a new video. And in this kind of taking action, right now, at this time in the world, know that every one of you is here for a reason. Every one of you is here for a purpose. And even though we might not be very loving to each other right now, we can still make choices to be caring, and we can still make the choices to kind of tap into the goodness of humanity, because I do believe that we do have a deep goodness, and we were born with a deep goodness, and that the more of us that can tap into that frequency of goodness is going to help others remember their own goodness and remember their own wisdom. So thank you again, everyone. I know this went about 40 minutes over. I can get very wordy. It's a big topic, and one that deserves to be talked about again and again and again and again. And when you see those children and see those babies and see the adults, have those conversations, and see if you can kind of get a sense of your own children, you know, who they might be. But they're wise ones out there, so they deserve that love, care, goodness, respect as well, because they're souls just like you and I. They just happen to be in smaller bodies. All right, take care, everyone, and thanks for tuning in this week.